Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 63 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. Today is Sunday, January 29th, 2023, also known as the day after the championship of the 87th Annual National Trail Conference Tournament. And we've got a back-to-back champion as Altamont defeated St. Anthony yesterday. Pretty decidedly, as it turns out, a pretty convincing win for Altamont over St. Anthony. So the Indians are back-to-back champions for the first time. I didn't realize this until Matt Robinson was talking about it, but first time since the tournament's inception. So in honor of that, we have got the coach of the champion Altamont team, not to bury the lead too much, but John Niebrugge is here joining us. Thanks, John, for taking a little time out of your Sunday evening to talk to us.
I appreciate it. I enjoy basketball. I enjoy talking it, so it'd be fun.
Well, especially talking after you get away.
First off, I got to congratulate you for winning back to back. I did. We ended up coming over last night to watching, and good ball game, great atmosphere.
Yeah, the place was rocking. I mean, I haven't seen it too often where there's basically standing room only. One line around. It used to be, I've seen it where 3-4 lines deep in the back and just standing room. But last night it was pretty packed. It was a good atmosphere, great ball game.
I think when you're playing in the championship of the NTC tournament, especially against a rival school like St. Anthony, and not that all NTC schools don't have their own rivalries, but that's an especially good one. You don't probably have to say too much to your kids to get them fired up for a game like that.
No, they knew it was on the line. It's kind of like we prepare so hard for games like that I put the stuff on the board, just go over a few things here and there, and my spiel is about 3, 4, 5 minutes. It's not very long, and with a senior laden team like that, they know how to get themselves fired up.
Yeah. You guys are having a special season, and we'll talk NTC, but we'll talk big picture too. And you knew you're going to be good this year before it ever started, but is there anything about your group this year that's even a little better than you anticipated as we get around this bend and get through the NTC and get on the home stretch of the season? What are they doing that even you might not have predicted?
I knew we were going to be good defensively with our length, in our size. Not too many 1A teams go 6'5", 6'4", 6'4", and then have some wings that are 6'3". But we're shooting the ball a little bit better than I thought. Avery Arhouse has been really aggressive shooting the basketball. I think Dylan Elam's really take the step to the next, becoming a varsity basketball player, because this is his first year. Mm-hmm. He didn't get very many minutes last year, only in blowouts. So he's the one kid that I've really seen kind of take the biggest leap. But as a team, we knew it was going to come down. If we could score the basketball, if we could get it into the 60s and 70s, we were going to be a really good team. And I think we're getting most of our games ended up in about around 65 points this year.
Yeah, you're averaging just a touch under 62 a game. So that's and getting those contributions. I mean, you got a couple of guys who, are typically your leading scorers, but there's a handful, and you mentioned the depth, a handful of guys that on any given night can put up a big number for you. And that makes you more difficult to defend than I think your typical 1A team.
Yeah. Sometimes you can, if a team has one or two good players, you could jump defense or, full deny on a kid. We kind of invite that. Neoga did it a little bit against us in the first game on Avery. We kind of expected that, but we're willing to our 4 against your next 4. So it's kind of like, all right, we think our 4 is going to be better than your 4 or whatnot. We don't know who's going to score each night. It's a blessing, it's embarrassment of riches that we have, but it could be Dylan, it could be Eric Coleman, it could be, it was Wyatt Phillips in the Sessor tournament, and he's been out. So it's Mason can score whenever he wants. Kynan's had some big games. So you can't just key on one guy on us. So that's a testament to those boys and what they've put on in the offseason to work on their one-on-one moves and their shooting.
And of course, we've got you on here because, you just won the NTC and as well as you've been playing, you look at the field in the National Trail Conference. And we've been talking about it all year, how there's just not a lot of easy games to be had in this league this year. So, you can't, as well as you're playing, you can't take anything for granted this week. It's a gauntlet that you had to run to get through it and get to Saturday and get the win.
Yeah. I said it in our seed meeting when we seeded the NTC. I looked at each coach and was like, this is the best filled room that we've had. And I'm in my 11 years here. CHBC we were only up 4 going into halftime against them. You can't look past anybody. Coach Snow, you never know what he's going to get at Neoga. He's just, that first game, we were so nervous because I wasn't there. And we didn't. It was the first game without Mason, and it was like we lose this game, it's kind of going to be a shock. But each team is. I mean, you look at the non-conference record of our conference versus other teams. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know the actual percentage, but I've seen it on Twitter a couple of weeks ago, and it was probably over 70%. Like it was.
I can tell you, as a matter of fact, it's 86 wins against just 44 losses.
Yeah.
So it's
high 60s, almost 70. And
yep.
Johnny, we had Aaron Britton on last week, or actually Tuesday. We had a special show for working around his schedule. And we talked about that, the strength of the conference, your non-conference. And I think the thing that even makes it probably more eye-popping is you guys play a tough, you've got not everyone in the conference plays a really tough non-conference schedule. However, there is half the conference plays a pretty difficult schedule outside of the conference. And I think that's really been the thing that you've maintained that winning percentage as a group. That's very impressive part.
Shane always plays that basically a 2A schedule besides our conference.
Right. Yeah. And, they've got wins down at Mater Dei. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've got some games to hang their hat on. I mean, you guys beat KZ, correct?
Yeah. We beat KZ by, I think it was 1, but they hit a buzzer at the end or 3-pointer at the end to get it within 1-1.
So, So, I mean, the conference is very deep. And you were talking about your depth a little bit. I think the thing that's impressed me the most, and you use your depth to your advantage with your defense. You're able to maintain, pressure. Most times, man, I mean, I haven't seen you enough to see you play anything but most times. I know you're not allergic to things other than man.
I'm not.
But, I mean, I know you're bread and butter. But I guess the big thing is your depth allows you to maintain that pressure. And you saw it last night, the physical wear and tear on the team, but the mental. St. Anthony, I felt like they came out in the third quarter and got a quick bucket, Sahi on the block. I thought, well, maybe here we go. Yeah. But mentally, you just kind of ratcheted up one notch on the dial. And I felt like middle of third quarter, I was talking to Jeff Stacer. We were standing up on the railing talking, and we really felt middle of the third quarter, that game was kind of decided just because I don't want to say you broke their spirit, but they were like, God, we're having to work so damn hard to get a shot. And then when we get a decent look, we're not making it. And they just were like, what do we got to do? And I think that's a tribute to your kids' effort, but also the fact you're constantly bringing in fresh legs. Yeah. You were playing 10 on 7 last night.
Yeah, we played. We tell the kids, you play till you're tired. It's not a, come out. Pull on jersey. We'll get you out. We'll get you back in. We don't drop off. Like we didn't go for our full man, full court man as much as we did last night as we normally do. But we want to make you use all 94 feet. Like we're going to play a 94 feet game. We want to run offensively. We want to get out and go. you should see our practices. I mean, it's no holds barred. It's varsity versus varsity. It's no varsity versus JV. We actually have to tell the JV kids those juniors to kind of back off a little bit, because they just want to press, look at me, coach, like I'm playing hard too. But I think middle of that third quarter, they got that 4-point play basically right as it started, and then we went on an 8-0, 10-0 run or something.
Yeah, right afterwards you answered it.
Yeah, got some stops, got some runouts, got some easy baskets, and that's kind of what we've done this year. We get on an 8-0 run, boom, we got you where you want. 10-0, we might put it away after that, but our depth, it's 100% these boys. I mean, there's kids that could play, like Dylan Elam he'd be a all NTC player, and he still might be, but he'd be, a first teamer in my opinion on any other team.
Well, and that's the thing. And, I remember when I would split my kids down the middle, I'd have my two best bigs, one in red, one in white. And we just split them down the middle in practice. Now, you got to go, okay, here's who's going to be our 5 on the floor at the end of the game at times. However, most of the time in practice, every drill, every, 5-on-5 situation you're working on, you're able to do that, which makes you better. It's that old adage, steel sharpens steel. I mean, I can imagine what your practices are. I remember those days, and I couldn't wait to get to practice as a coach because it was going to be so fun watching kids compete, but pushing each other so hard.
Yeah, I don't know. We can't run a very good continuities or sets because our kids in practice, I don't think we'd run it very well in games either, because in practice they just take us out of it. We're like, it's hard to run stuff against us. So we try to take you out of your continuities or your sets. We make you become one-on-one basketball players, and it almost translates to the opposite effect in the game. So we kind of I just keep it simple and play some concept offense and get after it. But the boys they've really taken to the defensive side, and there's no ego. Like I'll come out when I'm tired, and then next guy up.
Right. And that's one of the things I know, similar situation. And we were so well-versed on our slips when we get overplayed in every aspect, every set had a slip. And I think because we had to do them so much in practice, we could do them without thinking in the game so well, and that helped us.
Yeah.
Now, your group this year, Phillips' kid, I know got hurt at Sesser. Is he going to be able to help you by the end of the year?
He just got the boot off like last week. He's going to get some inserts in his foot, in his shoe to help with his, footing. He's got like an extra bone, and when he rolled his ankle, it butted up against another bone and bruised it really well. I mean, it's not broke, it's nothing's torn.
So it's just a real bad bone bruise.
Yeah, it's like this other bone, which nobody else has, is bumped into another bone and bruised it really well. So we're hoping in 2 weeks he's full speed. So, that kind of puts us towards the tail end a little bit, but he was playing well. I mean, he got all conference or all tournament down in Sesser. He's just a kid that can go get you 10 points, and you don't realize he got you 10 points.
Well, and you got Mason coming back now. It looks like Eric Coleman's starting to play like Eric Coleman. I know he had some health issues that were a little touch and go early in the season. So come regional time, you guys should actually be
fully healthy, maybe.
Potentially, if you're healthy, be better than you were as a team in the NTC.
I agree. Yeah. Like, Mason was a good cheerleader. He's like, this tournament, it killed him. You play, you make a stupid mistake, you get stupid rewards, right? So he knows he messed up, but he was a good teammate, and he was the MVP of the tournament last year, and he was playing very well before the suspension. But getting him back, he can play. Him and Dylan are pretty similar players, and you put those two guys on the floor, they're playing the one spot through the 4 spot. He's gonna make a difference. We haven't been healthy all year. Like Eric had mono for 2 weeks, and we didn't even know it. He was playing for 2 weeks. He got it. He felt terrible up at Morton our very first game, and then he didn't play very good well against Newton, and he just couldn't figure it out. And I was getting frustrated with him. Like, I know Eric, but he's better than this. And then
Right.
come to find out, he had mono this whole time. And then, he didn't play down at Sester very much. And now he's finally healthy, and you can see what he brings to us. I mean, he's just a load underneath.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I mean, he's a big boy, but I've seen lots of big kids that still can't rebound worth a darn. And he has a nose for the basketballs, particularly what I've seen of him on the offensive end to get those stick backs. You've got kids who like to shoot the ball, but that's fine. Even if they're having an off night shooting from outside, you got a kid like that's going to get you 8, 10, 12 points on stick backs. I mean, it's a great luxury to have.
Yeah, he definitely has a nose for the ball. Like, he reads it really well. I mean, off the rim, he knows how to. We teach swim and spin kind of concepts. Get off the back, either swim or spin off. You can't be on a guy's back. And he's really good getting to the opposite side, reading it, and then he's really good at finishing too. Like, you get him within 2 feet, he's gonna probably score.
He does. And I think he does a great job keeping the ball above his head. He bounces. Yeah. He doesn't have to bring it down and triple pump and stuff.
Yeah, he's not offensively skilled by any means. He's skilled enough, but he doesn't want to make things complicated. He's just going to get it and go score.
Right.
He's got to go against Cade Miller every day in practice, so that kind of helps him too. So
and and I like that kid. I see him, and you bring him in the game, and I go, God, I'm almost like, hey, Coleman, stay here. Because this other kid may be quicker and, maybe just a touch more athletic. And I'm thinking, man,
no, there's no
like
touch
you said,
more.
You're a lot of depth. Now, one thing you said, I just want to touch on. We talked, Ann and Morgan and I at the game last night. We talked about this on the way home. You mentioned Mason. I think he was more excited for Avery Yarhouse being MVP than Avery was.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to figure out the MVP, and I go, all right, well, that's who it's got to be. And they're standing 2 people apart, so I can see them both. And Avery's like, nah. And, Mason's going batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And Avery's like, oh, okay. So that was a cool thing to see.
Yeah, Mason's been good through this. He was, the team was actually disappointed when, kind of let down when they heard about it, but he's been with them since they've been, at ALAS. They're still just friends. So it's nothing going to tear us apart. But Avery's just always ho hum, and Mason's the hype guy. He gets him. He's always fired up. I don't know if he's sometimes too fired up when he plays a basketball game too. I try to kind of really move a little bit.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but I won't ever take his emotion away. Because God knows I played with a lot of emotion back in the day. So I ain't gonna take that away.
Now your rematch, you're at home for that, or do you gotta go over to the Inland Center?
I think we're here. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember how it used to be back in the day. So okay.
Yeah, that game's in Altamont.
Yeah.
Should be your senior night, right?
Yes, sir. Yes. So we'll have a lot of kids to honor that night.
That'll be a good week. That'll be an interesting week to close out your regular season, because you got St. Anthony coming in, and then you got to go to Windsor's Two Straws to finish it off. That's
There's still a gauntlet. Yeah. I mean, there ain't nothing easy coming up either. Like even the Comas, but you got St. Anthony I don't think I've ever won the NTC conference regular season outright. So, we got Neoga, we got St. Elmo Brownstown, which throw the records out on that game. And then, St. Anthony obviously is probably going to adjust and be even better then. And then Windsor's Two Straws can, jump up and bite you. Like they got one of the better players in the conference.
And you talked about that. I remember the year I won it, when we won at T-Town, I thought, okay, well, the kids are like, okay, this will be easy. And I go, we got to go to Altamont the last game of the year. And they were good. I mean, you had that big Hayden kid, and I forget who else had. I don't remember them all, but I was like, yeah, no, this isn't over by any stretch. No. All right, I want to talk your subsectional. Your postseason. I've been here looking at this, and I keep thinking, okay, well, you got Ewan, North Clay, South Central, St. Anthony. You guys are all going to be bunched together. And I don't know why, but I kept looking past Christ Star Rock is in that same quadrant. And I'm like, holy crap. Now,
Yeah.
I talked to some people, tell me a little bit about them. I guess they got 3 pretty athletic kids. Their depth's questionable, and obviously their strength of schedule.
Yeah.
But they're going to walk into the regional probably 30-0.
Yeah, that's and who know, I don't know how other people are going to rank them. So I mean, you could be they depends on if you're the 1 or the 4 or 2 or 3 rank. So you don't necessarily want to be with them, but you don't want to be with St. Anthony and North Clay and
well, that's the thing. You're going to be with somebody, and
yeah,
if they get the 1, and you look at everyone that's voting, if they're 30-0, I'm not saying they're the 1. But I'm saying they'll get the 1 vote just because people will look at their record.
For sure.
And
I don't
because
think
there's more.
I wouldn't think they're the 1 either.
Yeah, there's more non-NTC teams in there than there are NTC teams. So I think they'll go to South Central.
Oh yeah.
And the South Central hosting. Yeah, they'll go to South Central. And then that means, who the next 2 are going to Nokomis. So you and Cody may be riding the bus to Nokomis together. I mean, that's going to be crazy. It really is.
Yeah, they're like, I think they're 18-5, 19-5 or something like that. Like, you played Christ-Our Rock in the Vandalia Holiday Tournament to like a 4-point game. Like, so if you think Christ-Our Rock's good, Nokomis was just right there with them. So
now there will be one NTC team that gets to have a say about whether Christ-Our Rock goes into the postseason undefeated or not, because St. Elmo Brownstown is going to go in there the last week of the season. And we've seen, well, at least that's what's on the schedule currently. I mean, I look at Max.
Might might have to send a guy in and go scout that game for sure. I don't know where it's at. Is it at St. Elmo or?
It's down in Centralia. So, yeah, that's the thing. You never know, people, you never know what kind of research coaches are doing. I mean, some are pretty plugged in, some are just looking at those numbers, and some are looking at who they just don't want to play and seeding accordingly. And
sometimes
it can just be kind of a crapshoot, I guess, especially when there's so many good teams. Like, you can't get away from everybody. In our subsectional, your regional semifinal is going to be a regional final in other places. I mean, it's just going to be, no matter what. Like, it's going to be tough. Your 1-7 matchup is going to be a tough matchup. Yeah.
Well, you look at how the NTC was. I mean, South Central was a 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, with a 14-5 record or something coming into it, right, or something.
Getting to see those guys play. I mean, Aiden Dodson's a nice athletic player. I'm going to tell you, he can play.
Yeah, Coach Doring does a good job with his 1-2-2. Like, he has his calling cards. Like, you're going to get a man-to-man with us. You're going to go 1-2-2 against them, and they have ran that in the last few years. Ran that pretty good.
Now, one last thing I at least wanted to touch on. Mike might have a couple others, but we don't want to keep you for too long. But also, you got that shootout that you guys are hosting, not this next weekend, but the Saturday after that, and there's going to be quite a collection of talent there too. The NTC CIC shootout. I mean, you're playing Tuscola, for instance, and that's obviously a quality team. But there's a lot of solid matchups in there. That's going to be a great day of basketball.
Yeah, the last few years have been really good. I thought the last year there was some really good basketball with Windsor Sioux Straws and Tuscola and Macon Meridian. I mean, really good teams last year. This year, Tuscola is just chugging along again. That's who we were matched up again. This will be the 3rd time out of 4 years, but their record is pretty good too. So it's they're playing well, and they're in the other side of ours in the subsectional. So it could be a potential crossover game at some point too again. So you might see them down the road. But that CSC's NTC shoot has been kind of nice. I think Sandy's coming over next year too. So that's it's get better.
Yep. Yeah, Windsor Stew is going to be playing Casey in that one Saturday. So that's those last 2 matchups, especially. I mean, North Clay and Shelbyville has a chance to be a pretty good game too. Shelbyville's
got some skilled basketball players that one night might might score 75, 80 points. I mean, they're good.
Yep. What else you got, Mike?
Not a lot. I just, like I said, I was impressed last night just getting to see, the way your team played. And it was kind of funny. I wanted to see, I remember the days being on both benches in the old FEM St. Anthony matchups. And you always have to take at least one or two kids out of the game early because they're out of gas like 2.5 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
It's so jacked. And I'm watching it, and I thought it was Cornette. Somebody you had to pull about 2.5 minutes in, their face was just dragging. And, and everyone's like, I go, no,
Logan's like that. Logan gets gas quick like that. But then, he just works so hard. And he's
and they get so emotionally pumped up before the game themselves. That they just burn energy real fast.
Yeah, it's a roller coaster for sure. Like you run out on that in that NTC championship game, you run out there and you're firing all cylinders. Your adrenaline's going, and like you said, 2 minutes hits, and I need a break, coach.
Yeah, coach, I just need a quick one.
Yeah.
So and I wanted to see it happen, and it happened. And
but what takes it out?
You got 10 deep, yeah.
What takes it out of you more, though, coaching the thing or playing in the thing? Because you're not 18 anymore. Okay, so there's one thing to consider. But I gotta imagine it's a little stressful.
Coaching, I don't have as much. I mean, I have control in practice. The old John Wooden saying, if you're coaching during the game, it's too late. Your practices should be where you're coaching. But coaching after I give the matchups and the little speech of what we're going to do, I always look at my coaches and kind of clap my hands like, that's up to them now. So playing, you just played, like you prepared so much for it. It was like, all right, this is what I do. And coaching, you just kind of wish you could do it for them. I've kind of finally gotten past that aspect. Like I can't shoot for them. I can't rebound for them. Just growing as a coach, 11 years later. But I would prefer playing it, but the coaching's fun. It's a great atmosphere.
I was only in one championship game as a coach, Dustin, and some people thought I coached in the first half. Some people thought I coached in the second. I leave that up for debate, how much coaching I actually did. But it's the hair stands up on the back of your neck. As soon as that horn buzzes, or when both teams take the floor and the reaction of the crowd the first time, when you hear the cheer boo, it's just, you're like, all right, this, I got the best seat for this game right now. Yeah. And the old hair stands up on the back of your neck, and it's pretty exciting. And it's the NTC, a regional final, a sectional final, it don't matter.
Yeah.
And if you're an assistant coach, it's not as exciting as if you're the head coach. And it's not.
No. You're not. I mean, you enjoy it, but you're just not in tune to it. You're just like, okay, I've done my part now. I'm just going to ride the wave of the game. But as a head coach, you're like, all right, you got 15, 17 different scenarios going through your head. But it's fun. I mean, that's why I do it. I just do it because I enjoy the competition. Do it because I enjoy the boys. Being with them and seeing their highs and lows. Even the lows and helping them through that. But it's just fun to compete and see the boys compete and kind of get that. They'll remember that game last night for the rest of their lives. Like, no doubt about it.
Yep.
It's funny. And I asked Jeff Stacer last night because, Jeff's pretty competitive individual. And I said, all right, you miss it, don't you? He goes, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I do. I mean, you do. People can say what they want. Yeah. I'm old and got 1 foot in the grave, but I'd strap it on.
And you talk about being competitive. I mean, whatever relationship you have individually with every other coach in the conference, they're all sitting there in the chair seats watching you do it. They got to watch it, and you get to be there coaching it. And I imagine you feel that a little bit. You're glad to be where you're at. Oh
yeah, I'd rather be in my seat last night than watching it. And I've done that a few times, and it's not fun. I mean, I live 2 miles away, and I'm like, why am I not at that gymnasium right now? Or I didn't want to go because I was, butt hurt or something. But I'm like, I was like, I'd rather be where I was at last night than not.
So. Of course. Of course.
Yep, I agree.
Well, John, I'm going to ask you one more and then we'll let you go. And I got a chance to interview a bunch of the coaches yesterday, and I tried to ask them all this. What do you need to see? Again, you're playing obviously well. You just won the NTC, but you got several games left to go, and then regionals. What do you need to see out of your guys between now and then to just feel like you're giving yourselves the best chance to make the deepest run that you can?
I mean, like I said, we don't run the continuities or little sets very well. When we got to clean that up a little bit. You got to get some type of something that, or, a little wrinkle here and there that says, okay, I got to get a bucket. Here's the play that's going to get me a bucket. And that's kind of, and every team we now play is going to adjust, and they're going to do stuff. They're going to try to, four corners us or box and one or triangle and two, something just to mess with us a little bit. So we're going to just kind of do that, throw some wrinkles in offensively, maybe defensively. We're going to have some things, in our back pocket that we can kind of still do. So it's definitely not, we're definitely not coasting yet, obviously, but
Sure.
Just kind of getting ready for the postseason, kind of throw some things in there, some offensive little wrinkles and sets that kind of that maybe teams haven't seen yet. So that's about it.
Well, it'd be nice for you to get all hands on deck and, get that figured out. And we're looking forward to it. I know from the outside, we're looking forward to seeing what your guys can do. It's a talented team. It's a fun group to watch. A lot of them in this area are, and that's the heck of it. It's going to be a hell of a battle once that regional starts, no matter where you end up. And, we'll see how it goes. But Mike, unless you got anything else, I think we can let John get on his way. And
Yep. I think, good luck. Maybe seeing you. Depends on, I'll be on that announced team too. I don't get to be the A team, so I don't know where they send the B team.
B team.
I'll probably get to see you because I would imagine. Well, I don't know. We'll just have to see.
We'll figure it out.
We'll
figure it out.
I appreciate it, guys. This is fun. I enjoy it.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Johnny.
We'll let John hang up on the call, and you and I, Mike, will talk some more about that NTC tournament, more of the broad ranging aspect of it. Obviously we've talked about the championship game, and I don't think anybody's going to give us a better perspective of that than John. But I think I will say that being in the building well ahead of time for the game and seeing people come in and hearing a lot of conversations about it, and you and I talking about it before the game, we anticipated a battle, and it turned out to be as one-sided a game as the tournament had. Not anything that anybody was predicting. Altamont, obviously played very well, and St. Anthony didn't have its best night shooting the ball, I don't think. But all told, a great tournament, lots of fantastic games.
I enjoyed, like I said, unfortunately, Greg was sick.
Yeah.
So I got to do a couple games on Friday night, went over and watched the championship last night. Championship game first, just touching on that and then kind of walk back a little bit. I was shocked early at how bad St. Anthony shot it the first probably 5 trips. Not because they were missing, because they weren't close to making a basket. I mean, the thing is with Altamont's defense, there's so much pressure. You work and work and work, you get an open look, you better be ready to take it. And early St. Anthony, bang, bang, let it fly, and air ball.
Yeah.
Side of the rim, back. I mean, it was just uncharacteristically bad.
Now, let me ask you something, because you got to work. You talk about working so hard to get that shot. Okay.
Yeah.
And even from the, so I'm up in the crow's nest and I see the shot and it looks pretty open. But if you had to work, 20, 30 second possession to get yourself to that point, how much are your legs under you? And that's still a credit to the defense. That's not taking anything. I mean, the defense causes that, right? I mean,
no, I agree 100%. I'm just saying, but here's the deal. If you're going to beat a team like an Altamont, or you're going to beat a team like a St. Anthony, or you're going to beat North Clay or a good team, okay, or a Casey or a Christar Rock or anybody, you have to be able to, when you get the opportunity, you have to convert. And if it's your best shooter, wide open three, he can't miss 3 in a row by 6 feet.
Yeah. There's not a lot of margin for error against a team that good.
Yeah, you go to the hole and you're expecting a foul, that's fine. But when you don't even get the ball above the rim and the shot's not blocked, that's not, you go to the hole too many times, kids are like, oh my God, I'm going to get fouled. I got to get it off and maybe get an and one. Back in the old days, man, you put it in the square and earn the and one. And they had some opportunities where they didn't get the ball above the rim and they got fouled. But, it was just one of those things. I just think the constant barrage of the defense mentally wore on them. But early, I was shocked early. And like I said, I was talking to Coach Stacer and actually Chris Tingling standing next to me. We were standing there and we were like, those aren't even close.
Yeah.
And I just think, and as bad as I felt St. Anthony played the first half, and again, you got to give most of the credit to Altamont's defense.
You do.
They were still only down 11 at halftime.
Yeah. Altamont scored 19 points in the first half.
Right. St. Anthony wasn't like giving up layups, but the pride, and I kept thinking, man, Cody's got to go to the locker room and just building up the fact that we can do this, we can do this, we can do this. And
like you said, you kind of thought for just a brief moment.
There was a moment.
And listen, I'm there broadcasting the thing. And what I want to see as much as anything is just like a great game, right? And so, right. I'm not invested in who wins the thing, but when St. Anthony got those 2 buckets and especially with Brock Fearday getting them, because he's their leading scorer, he didn't score in the first half.
Well, say he scored, I thought the first bucket in the third quarter.
Oh, did he? I thought it was Brock both
times. They got him on the block and he just went up, hit a little 3-4 foot jumper. And I thought, okay, if they can get him there with his athleticism, man, that opens some things up. And then it just,
at any rate, that optimism for a close second half kind of evaporated pretty quickly after that. And that's just again a credit to the team that Altamont has in the night that they had last night. And the tournament they had, it was a knockdown drag out tournament too. Like looking at the big picture of things, boy, it was a physical one this year. It
was. I was surprised the 2 games, the Brownstown, South Central game we did. There were some collisions, Dustin. The kid from South Central, the Anderson kid, he's like a pinball. It wasn't malicious collisions, but there's one time he turned, kind of came off the screen, saw a seam and was going. And all of a sudden, the kid from Brownstown and St. Elmo's there take the charge, and he just ran to his chest.
Yeah.
And, it was just like, wow.
I didn't see anything this week that dissuades me from my notion that this is a great small school conference. I think there's a lot of teams in here that on any given night could beat a lot of, they could just be a miserable matchup in a postseason setting, if they play their game. We talk about South Central, the 7th seed. I had not actually seen South Central, got a chance to see them 2 or 3 times.
I hadn't either. Yeah.
And very impressed, for the 7th seed in this tournament to have a player of Aiden Dodson's caliber, that's a kid that could go out and win you a game any given night if he's on. He scored over 100 points in the tournament. Yes, they played 4 games, but still, goodness gracious, just knows how to put the ball in the bucket.
Yeah, he's so athletic. He's like
he can get up, man.
He's 5'8" Logan Fleener.
Yeah,
the way he gets up.
That's the thing.
I don't know if he's 5'8". I may be cutting him an inch or giving him an inch. I don't know.
The thing is, if you look at him, you might not see it. He's 5'11".
5'11". See, I cut him. He's 5'11".
At least that's what he's listed at.
He gets up, and then you see, their first round game against North Clay pulled it out of the fire late.
Yeah, South Central
Then-
was ahead for what, three and a half quarters in that game.
Well, St. Anthony, Brownstown, St. Elmo was a heck of a ball game.
Yeah.
Dietrich, based on seedings, upsetting Windsor.
Mhm. And Dietrich was ahead of North Clay in the third place game for a good deal of it. Got off to a great start. North Clay had they had some games where they didn't get out of the gates very well. They recovered in some of those. They recovered against South Central and pulled it out. They recovered against Dietrich and pulled it out in the third place game. St. Anthony
It's never recovered.
yeah. And also with the caveat, of course, that, they're not getting 100% out of their best player. And
60 at best.
yeah, it is what it is. Nobody's perfectly healthy at this point in the year.
Right, but they rely and here's the thing. He runs the point of their 1-3-1. He didn't play the point the whole MTC. He was back in the middle because he's kind of hobbled.
Yeah, people see a kid out on the court and think, okay, he's there. Why aren't you doing what you're supposed to do? And it's obviously not even close to that simple.
Yeah, you put him on the point and you put Bose and Smith on those wings. That's tough play catch back and forth cross stop. And, I just feel like if they can get healthy, they'll be a different team in the postseason, but they got to get healthy. And Logan's got to get healthy because there's so much they do and can do, other different things they can do with him. But, he's got to be able to do it. And that hurt them. Dietrich's got a couple of talented kids, man.
Yeah. Caleb Gephardt
and Westendorf are what, junior or sophomore? They're nice kids.
Yeah, Dietrich's a team you look at for next year and think there's some pieces coming back that are going to make them. And listen, this is not to dismiss this year. I'm just you mentioned their age.
No, I know what you're saying, but there's a couple nice kids. And here's the thing: St. Anthony's all tournament kids were both sophomores.
Yeah, Ryan Schmidt, and we better touch on this during the show, okay? Because you got on the air for that semifinal game between St. Anthony and North Clay, and said you expected some big things from Ryan Schmidt.
He's the key to the game.
And he turns around and gives you 25 points. My understanding is he didn't miss a shot, right? Is that
8 of 8 from the field, 6 of 6 from the line, 3 of 3, and he went to the line to shoot 3 free throws for being fouled on the 3, which Dustin. He wasn't fouled. I watched it yesterday. It was the old Mike Wines kick your foot out routine and go down. So sometimes he got the call, and
that's
he made 2 free throws. He made 2 free throws, and I told Matt Robinson, I said, he will make this third one. Now I will show you there's no radio man jinx. And he did.
I am guilty of that broadcaster's jinx a lot. I feel like I am hesitant to even mention it sometimes on stuff like that. But I like Ryan Schmidt's game a lot. I think we talk about Altamont's depth, and I see a kid like that come off of St. Anthony's bench, and I just think, like, how many teams would he be? How many teams would he be the second leading scorer, the best player on the team? They're out there in that conference.
If you pulled non-starters from Altamont and St. Anthony,
you'd have
how high of a seeded team could you have in the tournament?
Yeah, like a 3 or a 2, I think. Yeah, I think so.
Got some kids who can play. Especially, like I said, Altamont's. They just got a lot of kids. They really do.
And by the way, before we move on from that too, I want to make it clear that I'm going to guess that Ryan Schmidt's mom's probably hearing us talk about him too.
She will. Oh yeah, she does.
That was the nice thing about the NTC tournament also, man. I had, listen, I know that there aren't like thousands of people watching us do this every week, but I did find out who some of the select few are because
Yeah.
Tuesday,
Susan, avid listener.
yeah, when I went over there Tuesday, there were a couple of people who talked to me about that show that we had just recorded a few hours earlier. So we appreciate that. Tell your friends, by the way. Tell
Hey,
them
how did you like the quadruple header on Tuesday?
that was awesome. Okay. It
I've
was
heard
awesome.
nothing but good things.
Yeah. I mean, I get that you want to have games there every night. Okay. Like it's part of it. It's a week-long thing. You go there every night and it's an event every night. But to have 8 teams playing on the same day and to be able, in my case, to be able to go over there and see all 8 of them play, and then do it again on Saturday. It was fantastic. I mean, I don't know that I'm going to advocate for them to change the format of the tournament, but I really liked it. It worked out fantastically. And in a way, I'm glad it happened, especially since the weather didn't end up being near what was being forecasted either. So the added bonus was that, got to do it all and still didn't have to worry about getting around on Wednesday. So yeah, it was great. They did a great job with it. I had fun with it. I don't know what else we need to talk about with that tournament.
I mean, that was good. Why don't you got the all-tourney team?
I do.
Why don't you go through the all-tourney team and then we'll
I've got the
touch
all-tournament,
some of our others.
and I'll mention the scholarship winners too. Also, the all-tournament team was Adam Atwood from St. Elmo Brownstown, who's he's a nice point guard. He's got as much burst as anybody in that.
What year is he?
Atwood, St. Elmo Brownstown he's a junior, so he'll be back.
Okay.
Yeah, he's their point guard. He's one of those guys that can get a rebound.
Had 11 rebounds in the game I did.
He'll go get a rebound and then he'll beat everyone down the floor on the dribble. Okay. Aiden Dodson got on there. That was a no-brainer from South Central.
He's a senior though.
Yeah, he is a senior. Quentin Richards from Neoga, another senior. Double figures every game. Very athletic kid, good ball player. Obviously, good genetics there. His twin sister, a pretty good player in her own right. Austin Wittenberg from Winters Two Straws got on there. Another one that's another senior and another no-brainer. Alex Boos from North Clay. Brock Fearday from St. Anthony. There's a non-senior for you. He's a sophomore. Caleb Gephardt from Diederich. Logan Fleener from North Clay, who he scored 20 points in the 3rd place game, which I think helped him get himself on there. The totals just weren't really there for him early on, but had a nice. And I gotta tell you something. Also in that 3rd place game, he went for a dunk in the open. It wasn't quite open court, but he had a bit of a breakaway, and he didn't get it down and landed kind of awkwardly. And I was thinking, oh no, not only is that a little embarrassing, but maybe he got hurt. But then he played better after. It's like he just decided, I'm going to get through that, and seemed to play a little better going into contact and stuff after that. So hopefully it's a sign at least that he's going to get there physically. Eric Coleman from Altamont gets on there. We talked about him a lot with John. Ryan Schmidt from St. Anthony, who we've talked about. Dylan Elam from Altamont, and then of course Avery Yarhouse.
Elam a sophomore or junior?
Dylan Elam, I don't want to say off the top of my head. I always want to look this up because I don't want to look stupid.
I think he's a junior.
He's a junior. Yes, he's a junior, and Yarhouse is also a junior. So
Yarhouse is a junior?
Yeah. Wait a minute. No,
he's a senior.
Avery Yarhouse is a senior.
Yeah, he was a senior during golf season. I don't think they moved him back during basketball.
Well, I saw Alec Yarhouse in here.
Okay.
Quickly. And then, of course, go ahead. Well, and they handed out the scholar athlete scholarships as well, a boy and a girl. Ralph Thompson, who's from Cowden Herrick, got on there as the male recipient, and then friend of the show, Lucy Fearday, was your female winner from St. Anthony. Very deserving, of course. And then Ethan Atwood from South Central got the Joe Milchman scholarship, which is that's a newer one. Maybe it's the first year, maybe it's the second.
I think it's first year.
He passed away a couple of years ago. I know Joe did, but I think this is the first year for the scholarship. And the way that worked was they just any senior who'd played in the tournament was just put in a random drawing, and
Oh, really?
Ethan Atwood was your guy that got drawn. So Joe Milchman, just a guy who you could always count on seeing at the tournament. Loved sports.
Yep, he was there a lot.
Yeah, I mean, and not just there, but anywhere. I mean, I remember back in my daily news days, you go to a baseball game, if it was an anticipated matchup between a couple of good teams, you knew that he was going to show up with his little lawn chair and park himself behind home plate. And watched a lot of good baseball games behind home plate with Joe Milchman and Duck Nosbitch over the years. So, All right, so that's the NTC boys tournament. We could have probably talked for 3 hours about it, but no one's going to listen to all that.
Nope, they're done.
And there was a lot of other basketball played around the area. And we'll touch on it real quick.
Yeah, Shoes had a rough week.
The Shoes boys did, yes.
0-3. Yes, 0-3. The boys were 0-3. I just want to tell you, saw Mount Zion play at Effingham. Did the game on the radio. Wasn't impressed. 1 of 16 on threes, guarded for about 8 minutes the whole game, really, after it. Went over and watched them play at T-Town, 10 of 18 on threes, and guarded the bejesus out of T-Town. Completely different team.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose they probably could have looked at Effingham's record a little bit and said, we don't have to, but then again, if you're going to shoot a lot of 3-pointers, there's going to be nights where you just,
Well, yeah, they were 10 of 18, and I think T-Town was 9 of 21 or something.
Yeah. But the defense, Garden was another story.
Mount Zion's quicker, and defensively gave T-Town fits. They really did because of their quickness and their size. Big freshman Anderson kid had a nice game for him again. The other two big kids didn't do well. I don't think the Owens kid played, and the Cuddy kid was okay. He was their best player at Effingham, but the Custer kid, or Coaster as they pronounce it,
do they really?
Played well. Yeah.
They're 22-2. Okay.
No, they're the real deal. It was just I saw them on a really off night, and
and T-Town gets beat by Mater Dei at Mater Dei. We talked earlier in the season about how tough a place that is to go play.
Got beat by 4. And I didn't hear officially, but I heard through the grapevine that didn't get many breaks. Then went down to Pinckneyville yesterday, got beat by 9, was it? 50-41 maybe?
Yeah, I hadn't actually seen the final score. I only talked to you about it. Now, the one thing about Mater Dei, I am looking right now, they don't have a fantastic record this year. They're like a 500 team this year. Pinckneyville is not. Pinckneyville's up over 20 wins already. So
right.
So,
yeah, I mean, this tough games. And here's the thing. Aaron Britton's got T-Town, I think, is the second number 2 ranked strength of schedule behind the Chicago Public League School in 2A, which is all good and well. But when you start losing, I had a fan say, well, it's our strength of schedule. Well, then don't schedule it.
Yeah. And
that's the thing.
As long as
you have an insane schedule, and I understand that, but you got to beat some people. Some of these games where you're maybe playing a better team, but you've got losses at Madison, at Mater Dei, both tough places to play, yes, but you got to win some of those.
I will say this: as long as it's a fan saying that, I don't care too much.
Right? No. That's
I'm not behind closed doors, so I'd be interested to see how your team responds to it. That's the important thing, right? Is what are the messages and how are the kids dealing with it? Because they expect to win, and so you go 0-3, you're obviously going to be disappointed because you're T-Town and you don't lose 3 games in a row very often. Yeah, you got
It's
Newton and St. Anthony.
Newton and St. Anthony both this week. Newton's Tuesday.
Yeah, Newton's at T-Town on Tuesday, St. Anthony's at T-Town Friday, and then they got Centralia and Casey the next week, and they go to Mattoon, and Olney comes in the last week of the season. So there's even Mattoon's not having a great season, but it's not going to be an easy.
Not a good place. Not again. That's one of those places. It's just I've never seen a team play well there.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real break in there, okay?
No,
but
and Newton won the LIC and beat Olney Saturday.
They sure did. Yeah, they did.
Friday night.
And not only that, but they beat
Mount Carmel.
Well, they beat a Mount Carmel team that beat them earlier in the year.
Yep.
And they beat a very good Casey team. They beat a very good Casey team. So that's a hell of a week to beat Mount Zion, Casey, and Olney all in a week, man. That's impressive. Mount Carmel. I'm sorry. What did I say?
Mount Zion.
Mount Zion. Yeah.
Different team.
Different. But anyway, the point remains. That's a Mount Carmel team that beat them earlier. So yeah. T-Town's girls, meanwhile, coming off that 5th place at Highland, which we've talked about, 5th place at Highland is pretty good work. They beat Effingham soundly on Friday. That game was close in the first quarter only because neither team could really score very much. And then T-Town just controlled it after that. And then they beat Breeze Central on Saturday.
Yeah, beat Breeze Central on Saturday.
They were down. Maybe they were down at halftime in that game. I can't remember because I was over at Altamont, so we were getting score updates, during the broadcast. But at any rate, that's a good win. Yeah, obviously. And they're 23-3 now. And you look at the 3 losses. Well, one of the teams that beat them, they have avenged that later on in the season. And I don't know. I just feel like Lori's team has a chance to do, to be special this year, right? Like to have one of those deep runs. T-Town's always good. She's always going to have a good team that's going to, win a regional and do some things. But I got a feeling about this group.
However deep they go, they're not going to walk over people to get there. They don't just put people away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, granted, Alton's number 1 ranked team in AP 4A, and they had them beat, missed some free throws.
Had them beat. That was the thing.
Had them beat, missed some free throws.
That's what Lori doesn't care that they're 4A and that they're undefeated.
Well,
all she's going to care about, I know, is that she feels like they should have won it. But I can also tell that she's I think she's feeling pretty good about the group. It seems like and they've still got some trials and tribulations left, right? They got Mater Dei coming in tomorrow. They go to Altamont on Tuesday, which unfortunately Altamont, with the injury that they had,
with Gracie, they're not the same team.
Yeah, it's not the same matchup, but still a fun place to go play. The fun gym to go play in. And then they play Bloomington Central Catholic on Friday, which is that one where they go up and play it at Parkland. And then they go to Neoga the following week to wrap up their regular season, and that'll be an interesting one.
It'll be the Battle of Sigel.
Yeah, it's, if nothing else, it's just I mostly just want to see how Neoga plays against T-Town. I think
they should just play that at Sigel, Whitey. That game should be at Sigel every year in the old gym.
Yeah, I was gonna say that old gym, man. It had that flooring in it, right? That wasn't actual hardwood. It was that all-purpose stuff. Wasn't very long floor. You could get up and down that floor in a hurry. I don't think that gym could contain the crowd that would want to come to a game like that.
You're right. But that just kind of be neat playing at the junior high there. The new gym, it's a nice facility they've got there. But again, it wouldn't be big enough.
Speaking of Neoga, if we can just real quick, I mean, we don't have to touch on all the NTC girls stuff, but on Saturday, it was a pretty good day for St. Anthony and Neoga. St. Anthony got a win over Pana on Saturday.
Yep, I saw that.
That was an overtime game, won it by 4. That's a Pana team that's been state ranked in 2A at least most of the year, if not all the year. So that's a quality win for St. Anthony, and it gets them up to 21 wins on the year. And Neoga went to Robinson and got a win. And that's a Robinson team that's won 17, 18 ball games this year.
I think that's a Robinson team to beat Paris last week.
And so I will say that, I think that it sounds like the Campbell girl had a little bit of, she didn't finish the game. She had a sore knee at the end of it. So I think they're still waiting to find out what the deal is there. But all I can tell you is that she wasn't on the floor when the game ended, and it's, a 6-point game. They would have been playing her if they could have. And, so that's a good Saturday for the NTC. CHBC lost to Newton. That CHBC girls team, they've beefed up their schedule a little bit, so the record's not as good as it was last year necessarily. But that's a road loss for them in overtime. They'd probably like to have that one back. And they lost to Neoga earlier in the week. Neoga beat them by 13 on their home floor. So I think that's all the NTC stuff I really need to touch on.
Effingham boys played IHOP in the middle of the week. This was their open week.
It took me
Hudsonville, Audubon, Palestine, the institution of IHOP.
You reversed the, I was like, I'm trying to figure out what it is he's trying to say here.
A lot of people do that one. What the heck is he saying?
And of course, like we talked about that matchup a little bit last week. That's one of those where you have to win it, and they did by
83-27, maybe.
Yeah, I
was told they were extremely kind.
Yeah, I think that's a game where, I guess the reason you scheduled is just to work on some things in a game setting, and
you had I think you had an open week. They were trying to find something.
Yeah,
my understanding was they reached out to Effingham and they saw they had an opening, and they were like, "Are you sure?" Yeah. We want you to come over.
Right. I hope that
I've been in all three of those gyms of those schools. So
I hope that I hope the coaches for both teams figured out what they could take away from it. Because the obviously not a battle by any means, but again, like, they can't all be killers, right? For Effingham, if that's the case, whatever, you needed a game, so you get it in, right? Like, it's better than it's. I'm sure the kids would rather go play a game than practice anymore. So
I agree.
From Oblong's perspective, I'm not exactly sure as much why that one appealed to them, but hey, you're playing a bigger school, it'd make you better in some way. Effingham, I'm looking.
That was their only game.
Yeah, and then it seems like maybe they just have the one this week too. They've got a game.
Just got that. I think it's pretty well strictly conference for them, other than maybe the T-Town shootout.
Yeah, they go to Mattoon on Thursday. Yeah. Apollo Conference playing those Thursday boys games.
Title IX.
Kind of hope it goes away eventually. That seems to be it for Effingham this week. So
I have an announcement, Whitey. We have a new team in our Christmas tournament upcoming.
Oh yeah, who's that?
Well, Knoxville. We had one more year with Knoxville. They're kind of going through some issues about if they can travel or not.
We talked about that last night.
Yeah. So they're not going to be back. And we've got Seneca coming down.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty good. Mark Gertz, Two Straws. Mark Gertz is the assistant principal and the assistant coach. They're just coming for 1 year. So now that gives us till 2024 to kind of get that spot filled. So it'll be good. So as far as I know, knock on wood, got a full field for next year right now.
Yeah, let's what else do I need to do here? We touched on the Effingham T-Town girls game, mostly from the T-Town girls perspective. Effingham had a big week this week. They went to Mattoon, or no, they hosted Mattoon. The girls did on Thursday and beat them by 4 points, which that's always good to get you a conference win. And then after that game on Friday, they had to turn around and play Mahomet and lost to them by 7, which is an improvement over the first time they played.
Yeah.
But That's three tough games in 3 days, man. That's difficult to deal with. They only got the win in one of them, but sounds like they've improved their effort against Muhammad. Muhammad's that was Muhammad's 20th win, so it's not like there's any shame in losing to him. And Effingham, they'll go to Charleston on Tuesday and have to figure out how to not beat them by 100. But then they go to Lincoln on Friday, so that's going to be another tough one. Lincoln is still undefeated. Lincoln girls are 25-0, so looks like they're going to win the Apollo in their last year in the league. I think that's it. I don't know.
That's it. I think that's a good wrap. Now it gets fast because postseason's coming, and I think they seed the teams next week.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that
They do it electronically now, which I don't like. I like when you had to sit in a room with your coaches, and if I said you're the 15th seed, you're in the room when I say it. I've seen shenanigans. I've seen coaches talk about how well this kid was hurt on this loss, and Coach Crawford may or may not have said, well, this kid's got the gonorrhea, and that's been bothering him this year. And Kenny's the number one seed in the tournament. So he was kind of poking fun at this coach, but I don't think the coach got caught on that that's what he was doing. And kind of hard for me and Art Boris to keep a straight face during that seeding meeting. I'll just put it that way.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Art Boris. I know him a little. I never played for Coach Boris. I was out of basketball by then, unfortunately. I should have stuck with basketball if for no other reason than to get to play for Art Boris. But he was still my PE teacher in high school. He still got his fair share of grief from me. So
no, he was a good guy. We had some interesting battles against each other. I got my 20th victory in a regional championship against him in overtime. Barn burner.
That had been about his last year in Neova then, right?
Yep, it was.
Yep, I thought so.
Beat him at Cumberland.
Yeah. I think I know maybe the girls coaches had to at least submit something this week, like their season summaries or something like that.
Yeah, that may be in. I understand why they do it this way. I'm just not a fan.
Yeah, I get it.
I'll do a big Zoom call. At least I want to hear you say I'm not this seed.
Yeah, it still wouldn't have quite the same feel, but you're right. At least make them turn on the camera too. No, don't just have your picture on there, right? Like
no Jeffrey Tobin's on, but turn on the camera.
Yeah, none of that for sure. I don't even know how to respond to that.
At least you know who he was. That's a good thing.
I do unfortunately know exactly what you're talking about.
I used to like him. I'll just say that. I used to really like him.
Yeah, well, he's I don't know where to go.
All right, let's move on. I threw a curve at. That's like when I try to make Sap laugh every broadcast.
Well, and speaking of him, hopefully he gets feeling better. I know that had to kill him to not be there.
Did you hear how I ended Friday night's broadcast?
No.
So I got 2 words from Mr. Sapp: Wally Pitt.
Well, speaking of people who had listened to our Tuesday show pretty quickly, Matt Robinson, I got there Tuesday, and he said something to me. He's like, so who's the A team and who's the B team? And I said,
well, see,
all that matters is that you were listening, man.
That's right.
I don't care if I offend you or not, as long as I know you were listening to the show.
That's good. I like that. So, Matt Robinson, Sue Schmidt, Larry Wilson, 3 listeners.
Yeah. All I'll say is and I haven't given this spiel for a while, but if you're watching this and you like it, tell somebody.
Yeah, we're up to 130 subscribers, Whitey.
Yeah, Aaron Britton got us a couple, I think.
Yes, he did.
I think Lucy Fearday actually got us a few too.
It seems like some aunts and uncles. Now, I will say this: someone on Aaron, because Aaron shared it on Facebook too, and somebody from down here at Cairo said, "I want to be on that show."
They want to be on it.
Yeah, he wanted to be a guest. I don't know.
Okay.
But then somebody wanted to know what I was eating, and I replied, lunch. I said it was a short day, and that was lunch.
Yeah, we don't obviously always carry on that way, but everybody
No,
had to,
that was
had to
a
make it
unique
happen.
day.
And when you have a guest like that, you record over your lunch break, by God.
Hey, let's wrap it because I got to go see my Bengals are tied with the Chiefs in the fourth quarter, and I could go 12-0 going into the Super Bowl in a family pick'em pool. So,
All right. You
and
better
that's still not a guaranteed winner because I think people are only one game behind me.
get to it then. Well, that'll wrap it up. Couple more weeks of 2 or 3 more weeks of regular season basketball, and
Yep.
we'll once we get those regional seedings,
I'm
we'll
going to
talk
try to
about
get us
that.
a special guest next week.
Okay. All right.
I mean, we've had good guests. I really
We
like our
have.
guests we've had this year.
We've done. You've outdone yourself.
I'm doing a turn back the clock.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. I don't even know who you're talking about, but
It'll be good. Trust me, if we can pull it off.
all right. Well, until then, Mike, have a good week.
All right, see you, Whitey.
Later.